This is my review of the Xmid 2 with solid inner tent, and I'll be testing how this tent handles condensation. And this is my test area, the border between Norway and Sweden, and I'll be here for 9 days. I hope you will enjoy the video. It has been raining all night and it is still raining, but there's no condensation at all. There have also been a slight breeze, so I guess that helps with the condensation. And because of my fast pitch last night on the uneven terrain, I guess somewhere the inner tent is touching the fly, but it is still dry, and that's very good. Today there's condensation in the tent. It's because yesterday when we set up the tent, we were planning to go up into the mountains, but we were caught in a heavy rainstorm here in this valley, so this is a kind of emergency campsite. It's not looking so good this way. Everything was of course soaked, the ground was soaked, and there's no wind, and there have been quite cold this night, maybe around 5 degrees, and we are near a lake and a creek, maybe you can hear it. So I guess all the conditions, the good conditions for condensation were met, and yeah. Soaking wet shoes, soaking wet backpack. The fly is soaking wet, and it have been dripping down on the inner tent. Maybe you can see the droplets over there. The inner tent is sticking to the wet fly. But again, this night I experienced that the inner tent was touching the fly. Maybe it's something I'm doing wrong with the pitching of the tent. Although it's sticking to the solid inner tent, it's not wet on the inside. And the best thing is there have been no condensation dripping onto my quilt, so everything inside of the inner tent is completely dry. Maybe you can see there's not so much space in the tent today, because I have lowered the trekking poles in my attempt to try to that the inner tent that was touching the fly, so it's hanging a little bit more than it used to. It's dry on the outside. There's a little bit of moisture from the trees. The sun is out for a short moment, and that gives us a chance to dry out some of the stuff before the rain starts again. Yeah, what a campsite. When we arrived here yesterday, it was quite windy and dry. I attached some guidelines in the wind direction, and then it started to rain after we have set up the tent, and that was nice. It was quite a heavy rainstorm. I wasn't expecting any condensation because, in my opinion, the wind is the most important factor to reduce condensation. But during the night, I guess it have rained some more. I slept really good, and the wind died out. So during the night there have been no wind. So again, this night there have been quite a lot of condensation. Here it's soaking wet, and you can see there are some small droplets. And again, the inner tent is sticking to the wet fly, but it's only on this side. Here there's no problem with the inner tent. Of course it's a problem with the inner tent sticking to the fly, but again, the inner tent is completely dry, and there's no problem with any moisture or water inside of the inner tent, and that's the main thing for me, that the inner tent doesn't get wet and the quilt is completely dry. To avoid the inner tent is touching the fly, you can adjust this clips, and you can of course also adjust the height of the trekking poles, but I haven't found the right combination yet. I try to have the fly quite taut, and then I'm trying to have the inner tent a little bit looser to avoid this sticking to the fly. But I guess that the next night will try again to pitch the tent in a way that to avoid this sticking thing with the, and also it's a little bit annoying that the inner tent is so slacky and loose. No condensation issues this night. Again, the ground is a little uneven, so the pitch is not perfect. The wind is coming from this direction, so I have put up the guidelines here, but I'm pretty sure that the fly will be pressed against the inner tent, but they are so windy here, so my guess is there will be no condensation. Yeah, look at this view, it's just fantastic. And over there, there's an even better view. The wind have been quite strong during the nights, and the dry conditions, there have been absolutely no condensation. I'm really enjoying that I chose the inner tent in the solid version, because there has just been so much wind, so it has been really nice and cozy inside of the tent. Plenty of space between the inner tent and the fly. Also here, maybe it's because of the guidelines or my pitch today. And I'm also enjoying the big vestibule area. When you are on a long trip like this, you have a lot of gear, a lot of food, so it's quite easy to organize your stuff inside the inner tent and outside in the vestibule. Okay, I think today we will have some issues with condensation. On this side there's a lake, and on this side there's also a lake, and it has been raining for the last few hours, so I'm trying to raise the trekking poles so the tent will be higher, and I will try to tighten the tent by tightening the line here. It's maybe a little bit slacky, but at least I will try to give this pitch a go. Some canoe people crossing the land bridge between the lakes. Look how much space there is for air to flow under the tent, and somehow it have also helped with the distance between the inner tent and the fly. Now we are ready to handle the condensation issues this night. Now it's starting to rain, so that will make the condensation test even better. It's around midnight, the rain have just stopped, there's no wind, and the temperature is around 6 degrees, and there's only minor condensation. No problems with the inner tent sticking to the fly, so that's very good. See you in the morning. Good morning. There have been absolutely no condensation. It have been raining most of the night. There haven't been so much wind, a slight breeze. The temperature have been around 6-7 degrees, so I guess the hack with air under the tent and raising the trekking poles is really working. A beautiful day, but over here there are some dark clouds, so we better pack down the camp. The tents are still a little bit wet. The polyester fabric is not soaking up the water, so you can get rid of a lot of the water by slamming the tent. I have been here before. It's the perfect campsite in the middle of nowhere. There's water and mountains on all sides. I'm staking out the tent a little bit loose so I can raise the trekking poles again like on last night. That worked out really good. look how wet it is from condensation. Now I have loosened this buckle, so the inner tent is no longer touching the fly. I was a little bit surprised that there was so much condensation. Actually, it's the worst condensation I have had in the tent. Yeah, that's a lot of condensation. Yesterday we had a tough hike in the rain, and all of our gear was like soaking wet. Wet shoes, wet rain gear and wet backpacks. And we have had some wet gear inside of the inner tent. And on this side a wet umbrella. I think that all of the wet gear combined with quite cold temperatures, it was around 3 or 4 degrees this night, and there was no wind, and that is what caused the condensation. Today we are having an early camp, and I have good time to make a proper tent setup. It's starting to rain. Now I have tightened the straps or the buckles for the inner tent as much as I can. Yeah, now there's a lot of space inside of the inner tent. But remember, it's a wide angle lens. But over here, the inner tent is touching the fly. So now I'll try to loosen the buckles to kind of like finding the sweet spot of space inside of the tent and the inner tent not touching the fly. Okay, it's much more loose and slacky now, and on this side there's a good distance between the inner tent and the fly. Maybe not so much here, but I could show you. The camera is lifting the fly up, but that's around a good 5 centimeters. And on this side it's much better. It's quite cold and windy, and I'm very tired. But here is the X-Med. There's a lot of opening under the tent. I have raised the trekking poles to its maximum. There shouldn't be any condensation, and with this wind, yeah, nobody knows. We will see tomorrow. Absolutely no condensation. It has been a very windy night, and this morning I was out rigging the tent for windy conditions. I was lowering the trekking poles, closing a ventilation opening, and putting the tent closer to the ground. I was also tightening up the inner tent, and I'm glad that I'm ending this video on a day or a night where the elements have been really bad. I have for a long time been looking for a tent that is fairly lightweight and gives you good protection against the elements. And I think I have found it with the X-Med 2 with the solid inner tent. I guess there's a little bit of a learning curve setting the tent up, getting the right pitch, at least for me. But when you first get the idea, you can really feel well protected in this tent. I guess this will be all from me, so I'll just say thank you very much for watching the video. See you on the next one.